It is the late morning of July 17th at exactly 10:31 a.m. I go to work today at 2 p.m. and my shift goes on until 11 p.m. Now that we have the setup, let us go with the health update. I weighed myself this morning and I've got some bad news. Remember how I said I finally hit a milestone of 179.8 yesterday? Well, I jumped back up to 181.4. Yikes. I wonder what happened. I think I know what to blame, but let's just go over what we ate yesterday. Well, yesterday was quite a smorgasbord of meals. Now let's see if I can remember a good amount of it. I remember in the morning I made myself 2 scrambled eggs with bacon and cheese on a keto-friendly bun with a cup of coffee, and then 2 macchiatos with ultra-filtered milk to ensure the carbs would be low, and I used allulose as the sweetener. Then, before I left for work at around 1:30 p.m., well, I left work at 2 p.m., but I ate at 1:30 p.m. before going. I had myself a delicious ham sandwich that my mom made for me. It used those keto approved buns and it was the last of them. So we were going to have to get more if we wanted to continue using a form of bread for our meals. Then when I got home from my shift, I had a delicious meal waiting for me by my mom. That was an onion and celery freshly made soup that also included a garnish in the form of beef and bacon, and that was quite good as well. I bought some chicharrones and I took those with me home along with ingredients to make a low-carb homemade ice cream, chocolate flavored. And when I arrived, I decided to dip some of the chicharrones into the soup. It was good, but I also would say it was quite rich as well. Now, after that, I did pour a little bit of chicharrones on their own with a Coke Zero while watching a video from the Ralph the Movie Maker channel on a review of the film Superman. And I'd have to say that was a pretty humorous and also solid enough review. It was equal parts a review of the film as it was making fun of people who are reviewing the film and through a weird political lens. And then after that, at night, I had a peanut butter and jelly keto approved sandwich with, I forgot to mention, I got Nature's Own keto approved bread from the grocery store after my shift to make things like ham sandwiches and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with low to 0 sugar. And I had that late last night before going to bed at around, I would say, 10:30. Well, when I woke up, I measured myself and that was what the weight was. I do have some theories for why it jumped up so drastically. My number one theory is that the celery and onion soup seemed to have some fat in it. That would explain why it was so flavorful. But it seemed like a very large amount of fat because I noticed there was that kind of fat globulousness in the soup. It's hard to describe, but you know it when you see it. And I know the whole keto diet thing is about, staying away from sugars and eating mostly fats and proteins. But in my opinion, that was a bit much. And it also didn't help that there was like bacon and full fat beef as garnish on top, which added to the fatness. And I have a feeling that just all that fat together made for a really hefty meal that ultimately stuck to my sides, which will explain why I ended up ballooning so much overnight. And another theory I had was I did eat before going to bed, which is something you should never do. You should always space out your last meal with when you go to sleep by at least 4 hours, because it gives your body enough time to digest the food that you just ate, and then your metabolism enough time to sort through everything without having to be overworked by anything you put into it right before you go to sleep. And I did not do that, so I ultimately damaged myself by eating so soon before going to rest. Midnight snacking is not healthy. Never do that. I did it because I was bored, and you should never bored eat. It's always a bad idea. Well, when I did wake up and after checking my weight, I did complete the keto ice cream, and after doing that, it was good, but a bit rich, I would say. A little on the thick side. I like my ice cream to be a good airiness, but also not too heavy, if that makes sense. This ice cream felt like I was eating a really thick whipped cream, which was a little, like I said, very rich. It was good. It kind of tasted like a frozen brownie dessert, but at the same time, I think it might have been too much. And then I had an hard-boiled egg with some salt on it, and a cup of coffee. And that's pretty much what I ate from my last update to now. Alright, well, let us start explaining how the day went yesterday in a brief summation. Now, from what I can remember, it was a very interesting day, I would say. Now, I remember after my recording, this is a real stinger. I decided to start getting ready for work by combing my hair. And then I heard the street sweeper. And then I remembered I parked my car on the side of the street instead of in the driveway at a time when no car was in the driveway, so I really had no excuse to park my car there. And so when the street sweeper sound came in, I let out a big sigh and a oh no, and I rolled my eyes and I ran outside. And lo and behold, there was the guy who follows the street sweep around to make sure that no one's parked on the side of the road, and he gave me a $45 ticket. Yeah, that stings, especially after spending well over $150 on repairs for my car. That is a huge bummer. Well, that ended up eating away at my consciousness for a little while. I'd say a good 20 to 30 minutes. I just kept on saying, why didn't park up there? Why did you park on the side? Why? Complaining and moaning about something that already happened that I can't do anything about anymore because it's past, but it's recent, so it's like stubbing your toe and you're just still complaining about the repercussions of stubbing your toe really bad. I've come to peace with it now, but man oh man, is it the worst feeling to know that you had entire responsibility and ability to get your car out of the way in time and you didn't choose to remember and you ended up getting a ticket. It sucks. So to ensure that doesn't happen again, I have actually put on my Google Calendar a reminder for every Wednesday morning at around 7 a.m. if I haven't moved my car from the sidewalk and into the driveway to do so. And I am sure that it will never happen again. The annoying thing is that apparently the ticket doesn't register in the city's system until 72 hours after the ticket has been issued. So now I have to wait for another 3 days before I can pay for my mistake. Very annoying because my work schedule is so erratic that I just got caught up in the daily chaos of my car troubles and my life in general, and I just was so distracted by those things that I didn't remember that it was street sweeper day. Well, anyways, after talking about that, let's move on to what happened. I was very annoyed by all that, and I wanted to distract myself by working on my YouTube video. So I worked for a good 20 to 25 minutes on my editing video, and that felt pretty good. I did get a decent amount of work done. I was cutting out a lot of pauses, a lot of parts where I sounded uncertain or maybe was repeating the same information again. I was trying to make it as streamlined and straightforward and just easy to watch as I possibly could. My mom called and we had a conversation together. Of course, I mentioned the whole ticket thing and she sent out her condolences and all that. She told me her family friend was arriving on that day at around 3 p.m. So that was nice to hear that she was getting out of the hospital. So after that call, she arrived and I greeted her. She made the ham sandwiches. We ate them. And then I needed to get dressed and ready for work. So I did just that. And then I left. And then when I got there, the vibe at work today was really interesting. I don't really mention this a whole lot, but something about today felt very strange. Like there was a heaviness in the air. Like, something uneasy about today feeling in the air. It's really hard to properly describe, but it just felt more weighty today than usual. I honestly don't know why. Although I think I might know why a little later. Now, after I punched in and I got to work doing lot for the first hour of the day, I spent a good next hour doing front-end work. And as I was doing front-end work, which includes bagging, wiping check stands, or doing go-backs, I was overhearing there was a guy who looked like he was part of the union that our store is a part of. And he was basically gathering all of the courtesy clerks and the cashiers in this corner, and he was telling them about how there could potentially be strikes happening, and if we choose to involve ourselves in those strikes, we do get financially compensated with rates very similar to the rates that we get at our jobs. And he gave us pins, a grocery cart, and a fist in the pin, and a card to contact him. I remember after getting that, I thought to say a SpongeBob reference that I thought was very appropriate for the time, and one of the courtesy clerks thought that was funny. I just thought it was a funny, humorous thing to say at the time. Afterwards was then time to go and do an hour of lot. I remember on one of my sweeps in the produce area that I heard there was drama between two employees that sent one employee crying home. And it was basically coworker gossip that was going on in the produce area. I just overheard, and part of me wonders, on top of the whole, union thing with the guy promoting strikes in the workplace, and then this whole employee gossip, it made me wonder, maybe that's why the air feels a little heavier. Maybe it's just sort of energy fallout from those two things happening. Or it could have just been the fact that I had to pay for a $45 ticket, and my entire workday for yesterday was pretty much being done to pay for that ticket. And so it felt like this hefty thing that was on me the whole time. It was probably that, more than anything. Yeah, I guess there's some interesting things that happened at work that I could share. One, I was overhearing two customers talking about what makes a healthy product for consumption, and apparently one person was saying, plant-based just means instantly good, right? And the other person, yeah, plant-based means it uses plants, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's super healthy for you. It has a lot of sugar in it. It's like, well, I don't know about that. I've heard plant-based is fine. So it was basically back and forth about that. And I thought, some crazy drama, huh? Well, on my one break for the day, I did my breathing exercises on using my phone as a guide, Breath with Sandy YouTube channel. And that was nice, I would say. I finished my day off pretty strong. I had my last hour doing sweeps. I sweeped the whole of the produce area and the whole of the store, and I checked the bathrooms. And then punched out. I called my mom, let her know, hey, I'm gonna get some ingredients to make keto-friendly ice cream. Would you be interested in helping out? Because we're both going to be eating it financially. And she said, yeah, that's fine. So it costed a total of $20, so it was $10 me and $10 her. I got to work on the ice cream, but not until after when I got home. And before I get into that, I did shop at two stores. I shopped at my store and I shopped at another store nearby. Reason being, when I had all the supplies I need for the ice cream, I forgot that I need to pick up bread, keto approved bread, on my way home, so I stopped at a nearby store and picked up the keto approved bread and some chicharrones, because why not? After that, I got home. I had some delicious onion and celery soup with bacon and fresh beef garnish on top that my mom made. And after that, I got to work on the ice cream. I made a heavy cream custard, which included heavy whipping cream, filtered milk, allulose, cacao powder, and 3 egg yolks, and the last thing was a chopped up baking 100% cocoa bar. Once all that was mixed together and emulsified, I put it in a bowl that was in an ice bath. I let it cool for like 5 minutes, and then I put that bad boy in the fridge to cool overnight. I cleaned up my mess, and then I went in my room and I watched that Ralph the Movie Maker video about the Superman movie made by James Gunn. And then this guy called My Dark Path, where he was describing a supposed abduction event, or a Polish farmer from like the early 1900s supposedly got abducted by extraterrestrial beings. And what makes the case so interesting is it was before the whole UFO phenomenon really took off with stuff like Roswell and the Benny and Barney Hill case and all that, because that whole thing started in like the 40s and it's been going on since. But this was like in the early 1900s, so the fact that something like that happened so early in UFO lore made it very interesting to me. And he demonstrated the whole story using AI generated images of the beings and the environment and the ships, which really did help communicate the plot to make it a bit more, immersive, I suppose. Of course, I had some chicharrones and some soda while watching the Ralph the Movie Maker video, and then I watched the My Dark Path video with the keto approved peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a cup of tea, black tea. Probably went overboard with the snacking late at night. I really shouldn't have done that, but I did it, and now I've seen the consequences of my actions, which is why I'm not going to do it again. Now, after that, I went to sleep while listening to some binaural beats. No dreams tonight. I'm not sure if I should be happy to report that or not, but no dreams. Now, when I woke up, it was pretty early. It was around 7:30. My eldest cat, Avery, was meowing at the door, and he just wanted to rub up against my legs and kiss my hands. So that was cute. I liked that. And then I realized that I need to get to work on that ice cream. So I got out my old-fashioned ice cream maker, which is a blue bin with the metal tin inside, and you put like ice out on the outside with salt. The thing though with that device is that you need a lot of ice, and the ice maker we have at home did not have all the ice I needed. So I needed to take a really quick trip to the nearest store, grab a big bag of ice, and then immediately drive back and get started. The churning process took a total of half an hour, where I had to constantly put a bit more ice in, a bit more salt in to keep churner nice and cold. And once it was done, the ice cream was ready to eat by me and my mom. It was sort of soft serve, but also at the same time it was very thick and rich as well. I scooped up 2 scoops for me and her, and she mixed in some walnuts, and we got to town eating it. We liked it fair enough. My mom's overall described the chocolatey flavor as chocolatey, but immediately gone as soon as it enters your mouth. Very rich and creamy. And I would say the same thing. Then, afterwards, my mom wanted me to follow her around with a notebook, making little notes about measurements of the room we're working on, and the electrical work that would need to be done, and the drywall work that would also need to be done for that room. Then, afterwards, I decided to make a cup of coffee, get a hard-boiled egg, and then watch a video of a guy talking about the new features from the AI-generated program called Runway just to see what new technology is currently available there. Now they're doing full-on motion capture where you can record yourself using like any old webcam, at least as long as it's decent quality, and then you can upload that video and use some AI image to take your video and superimpose a character, whether it be a realistic live action character or a cartoony character, whatever, and then have them say and perform the same thing that you do in your video. And he made a little short film about like the whole Orson Welles tricking people into thinking that aliens were invading and was really just a radio broadcast of him doing a performance of Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, you know, or H.G. Wells, yeah, but performed by Orson Welles. And it was basically this back and forth between a woman and a man from like the 1940s talking about like how in the future there's going to be mass deception and eventually like aliens will make themselves known and will take over the world. I noticed that's a common theme with a lot of people interested in this whole AI thing. Like a lot of it has to do with like alien stuff. I don't know. It's a weird coincidence. But anyways, after watching that, I began watching a new Caper Site video on him reacting to the whole Skinny Bob thing. And then I realized, oh, I haven't made my video yet. I almost forgot to mention before this video is near conclusion, I did work on another 35 minutes on my YouTube video last night before going to sleep. So I did do over an hour of my editing, which means I don't have to do 10 push-ups. So, I mean, I could do them anyway if I wanted to, but hey, there you go. Accountability at its finest. And I believe that is what I will be doing after this record. I'm going to be making my new YouTube video, and I'm going to be editing it down, whittling away for an hour, and more if I choose to do more. So that's nice. But yeah, after that Caper Site video, I realized I haven't made my update video. So I got out my camera, tripod, and here I am. And so overall, I would rate the day a solid 7 out of 10, maybe an 8. I mean, any day where you don't get injured or hurt and you just get to live another day with relative ease, I suppose is a good day. As long as I'm not in severe pain or as long as I'm not suffering, I think everything is good. Well, that's pretty much all I have to share right now. I'll get back to you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everybody, and take care.